Henry Ford wasn't new to the car game. He'd already tried his hand at it twice before, but this time was different. He had a clear vision. He wanted to make cars that were simple and affordable. The company's first car was the Model A. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Henry Ford. In those early days, things weren't easy. The auto industry was just starting out. There were lots of competitors. Many didn't make it, but Ford was different. Now let's talk about one of Ford's biggest innovations, the moving assembly line. This changed everything. Before this, cars were built one at a time. It was slow and expensive. But Henry Ford had an idea. He thought, what if we bring the work to the workers? And that's exactly what he did, assembly line worker. In 1913, Ford introduced the moving assembly line. It was revolutionary. We stayed in one spot. The car moved past us on a conveyor belt. Each of us did one specific job over and over. It might sound boring, but it was incredibly efficient. Cars could be built much faster and cheaper too. The assembly line wasn't just about speed, it was about consistency too. Every car was built the same way. This meant better quality control. It also meant parts could be standardized. This made repairs easier and cheaper. Now we come to the big one, the Model T. This car changed everything. Henry Ford introduced it in 1908. He called it the car for the great multitude, and he was right. The Model T put America and then the world on wheels. It was simple, sturdy, and affordable, just what people needed. Henry Ford's the Model T was a huge success. In its first year, we sold over 10,000 cars. That was just the beginning. As production ramped up, prices went down. In 1909, a Model T cost $850. By 1925, you could get one for just $260. That's like $3,800 in today's money. Suddenly, ordinary folks could afford a car. The impact of the Model T was enormous. It changed how people lived and worked. Farmers could get to town more easily. Workers could live further from their jobs. Families could take weekend trips. When World War II broke out, Ford stepped up. The company shifted gears. Instead of cars, they started making military vehicles. Ford's factories churned out jeeps, tanks, and aircraft engines. They even built entire airplanes. The famous B-24 Liberator bomber was made at Ford's Willow Run plant. At its peak, they were making one B-24 every hour. It was an incredible feat of engineering and production. After the war, Ford got back to making cars, but things had changed. People wanted new designs, more powerful engines. Ford delivered. In 1948, they introduced the F-Series trucks. These pickups would become America's best-selling vehicles. They're still going strong today. In 1955, Ford launched the Thunderbird. It was a stylish two-seater that captured the spirit of the times. But Ford wasn't just about style, they were innovating too. In 1954, Ford introduced its Y-block V8 engine. It was more powerful and efficient than previous designs. Section 5. The birth of the Mustang and safety advancements. Now we come to one of my favorite parts of Ford history, the Mustang. Ford introduced this beauty in 1964. It was an instant hit. The Mustang created a whole new class of car, the pony car. It was sporty, stylish, and affordable. Young people loved it. In its first year, Ford sold over 400,000 Mustangs. That was unheard of for a new model. The Mustang wasn't just a commercial success, it became a cultural icon. It appeared in movies and TV shows. People wrote songs about it. The Mustang represented freedom and individuality. It was the perfect car for the 1960s, and it's still going strong today. The Mustang has been in continuous production for over 50 years. That's a testament to its enduring appeal.
But Ford wasn't just focused on cool cars. They were also working hard on safety. In the 1980s and 1990s, Ford made big strides in this area. They introduced airbags as standard equipment on many models. They developed better crumple zones to protect passengers in crashes.
Section 6. Driving towards a greener future. As we rolled into the 21st century, Ford faced new challenges. People were becoming more concerned about the environment. Gas prices were rising. Ford knew they had to adapt. They started focusing on fuel efficiency and alternative energy. It was the start of Ford's drive towards a greener future. In 2004, Ford introduced its first hybrid vehicle. It was the Escape Hybrid. This SUV combined a gasoline engine with an electric motor. It could drive short distances on electricity alone. The Escape Hybrid was a big step forward. It showed that SUVs could be environmentally friendly too.
Ford followed this up with hybrid versions of other models. The Fusion Hybrid and C-Max Hybrid were particularly successful. But Ford didn't stop with hybrids. They started developing fully electric vehicles too. In 2011, they launched the Focus Electric. It was Ford's first all-electric passenger car. It could go up to 100 miles on a single charge. That was pretty good for the time.
Section 7. Technological innovations for the modern era. Ford has always been about innovation. In recent years, they've been focusing on technology. They're not just building cars anymore, they're creating smart, connected vehicles. It's all about making driving safer, easier, and more enjoyable. Let me tell you about some of their coolest tech. One of Ford's biggest innovations is Sync. This is their in-car communications and entertainment system. It was introduced in 2007. Sync lets you control your phone, music, and navigation with voice commands. You can keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Over the years, Ford has kept improving Sync. The latest version can even update itself over Wi-Fi. It's like having a smartphone built into your car.
Ford has also been working hard on driver assistance technologies. They call this Ford Copilot 360. It includes features like automatic emergency braking and lane keeping assist. There's also adaptive cruise control. This can adjust your speed to maintain a safe distance from the car in front.
Section 8, Ford's current lineup and ongoing commitment. Let's talk about Ford's current lineup. It's a mix of classic favorites and new innovations.
The F-Series trucks are still going strong. They've been America's best-selling vehicles for over 40 years. The Mustang is still turning heads too. But Ford has also introduced new models to meet changing needs.
One of Ford's biggest recent successes is the Bronco. This rugged SUV was reintroduced in 2020 after a long absence. It's designed for off-road adventures. The Bronco has been a huge hit. It shows that Ford can still capture the public's imagination.
Another popular new model is the Maverick. This compact pickup truck offers great fuel efficiency and a low price. It's perfect for people who want a truck but don't need something huge.
Ford is also expanding its electric vehicle lineup. The Mustang Mach-E has been well received. Ford is now working on an all-electric version of the F-150. It's called the F-150 Lightning. This could be a game changer. Section 9. The impact of Ford on American culture. You know, Ford isn't just a car company, it's a big part of American culture. The impact of Ford goes way beyond the roads. It shaped how we live, work, and think. Let's take a look at some of the ways Ford has influenced American society.
First, there's the idea of the assembly line. Ford didn't invent it, but they perfected it. This changed how we make things. Not just cars, but all sorts of products. It made goods cheaper and more available. This helped create the American middle class. People could afford more things. It changed the whole economy.
Then there's the idea of the living wage. Henry Ford famously paid his workers $5 a day. That was double the average wage at the time. He believed that well-paid workers would be better workers, and they'd be able to buy the cars they were making. This idea influenced labor practices across the country. It helped improve working conditions and wages for many Americans. Section 10, Global Expansion and International Presence. Ford isn't just an American company, it's a global powerhouse. Let's talk about how Ford expanded around the world. It's a story of innovation, adaptation, and perseverance. Ford's international journey started early and it's still going strong today.
Ford's global expansion began in the early 1900s. They opened their first overseas plant in Canada in 1904. That was just the beginning. By the 1920s, Ford had assembly plants in many countries. They were in Europe, South America, and even Japan. Ford adapted their vehicles for local markets. They understood that different countries had different needs.
One of Ford's biggest international successes was in Britain. Ford of Britain became a major player in the UK auto industry. They produced iconic models like the Cortina and the Escort. These cars were hugely popular in Europe. Section 11, looking to the future, Ford's vision for tomorrow. So what's next for Ford? Well, they're not resting on their laurels. Ford has big plans for the future. They're looking at new technologies and new ways of doing business. It's all about staying ahead in a rapidly changing industry. Let me give you a peek at what Ford sees coming down the road.
Electric vehicles are a big part of Ford's future. They've committed to investing $22 billion in electrification through 2025. That's a lot of money. They're planning to electrify their most popular vehicles. We've already seen the Mustang Mach-E and F-150 Lightning. More electric models are on the way.
Ford believes that electric vehicles are the future. They're working to make them affordable and practical for everyone.